How long has this been going on? All right, we're gonna continue on with this chicken feed story, because like I was explaining to you guys, 5 degrees out here. It's freezing cold. But everybody's still got to come out this morning. So we're talking about the chickens and we're talking about the eggs. And I was explaining to you guys in one of the videos that we had a little bit ago that it's going to take the citizen journalist, all right, to peel through these onions. Because the actual news that we've all counted on, which is pretty much, you know, we all kind of knew it was compromised a little bit, but it's actually full-blown part of the system now. Okay, so we have to disconnect from anything that the TV's telling us because they're in on the program, right? So it's going to be up to us to weed through all this stuff and to help keep each other, you know, vigilant, focused, and on the ready, all right? That's right, Mr. Turkey. So now what we're going to do is we're going to talk about what some citizen journalists found out. But first, I warned about this. I caught this when he said it, and I put it on my Twitter, okay? But I'll let Tucker Carlson will actually tell you what Joe Biden said last year about America starving.
Last spring in March at a press conference in Brussels, Joe Biden explained that the sanctions he was imposing against Russia, while morally necessary, were also going to cause food shortages around the world, including here in the United States. It's going to be real, he said. Now, Biden said this in a very odd way. There was no hint or panic, emotions you'd expect from a leader predicting the deaths of human beings from starvation. None of that. Instead, there was pure nonchalant casualness. Biden could have been describing the weather or a trip to the dry cleaners. It's going to be real. Then, Biden continued, recounting a conversation he'd had with European allies. He told us all about it. When he met with the group, Biden said, they spoke about, quote, how we could increase and disseminate more rapidly food shortages. That's what Joe Biden said, verbatim. It's on tape. So here you have the President of the United States pledging to increase food shortages at a press conference. Now, that seemed like a newsworthy event, but not a single news organization in this country seemed to notice it happened, nor did the White House correct it. But others were watching, so within days, that clip wound up on social media, and Facebook flagged it immediately as, quote, false news. Now, strictly speaking, that's untrue. There was nothing false about the video. It was entirely real. No one can test that. But apparently, Facebook users were supposed to understand that Joe Biden is senile, and therefore he's not accountable for his own words. Taking Joe Biden literally qualifies as, quote, misinformation.
I know this is hard to believe, right? Can you even believe that the President of the United States would basically say that, you know, get ready? It's going to be food shortages coming on. And then did you guys know that, you know, if you are following this stuff, right? I'm just trying to help you guys follow this stuff. I'm not making up stuff. It's not conspiracy theory, but if you just follow this stuff. He said that, and then all of a sudden we started having these accidents at these processing plants. 2 planes flew into 2 different processing plants. Fires are breaking out at all these different processing plants. After I did that last chicken video, there was a fire in Connecticut. Killed hundreds of thousands of birds. A fire just randomly broke out. I think they said 20 fire departments or something had to respond, or 20 fire trucks had to respond to that fire. Okay? And now what they're doing too is they're wiping out these farms and saying that the birds have the avian flu. All right? I don't believe it. I think they're lying about the avian flu. Just one man's opinion. I think they're culling all of the out. So here, let me just explain to you guys. This is going to be a video, so hold on, okay? But I'm going to explain to you guys something real quick. This is going to be crazy, all right? I'm just going to tell you guys what I know, right? This is what I know, okay? You know, I'm friends with the Amish, and when we first got up here, a lot of the Amish were doing pigs. And they were doing pigs through, what was it, Catskill, no, Cargill, that's what it was, a big company, right? Big company doing pigs. But what had happened was several years before the Amish started doing the pigs, you know, they would just go buy pigs at the sale barn, take their pigs to the sale barn, and a lot of transactions were happening at the sale barn. Well, then the big companies noticed that, and they started going to the sale barns, and then they started pitching the Amish you know, I can speak of that because that's what I know, but I'll bet it's other small farmers. And they started pitching them about having pig houses at their place, right? So we'll just stop the sale barn stuff. We'll bring direct to you. You can raise them up and then we'll take them right off your hands. And so that's how they circumvented the sale barn, and then the prices of the pork started going up, right? But then what also happened was the price of the meat and everything was so ridiculous that the Amish couldn't make a living doing it anymore, so they had to give it up. So then what the big companies do is they take it all to a central place, and then the central places are growing. Okay, do you understand what I'm saying? The scattered food system that we had in America is now being torn apart so they could set in centralized food systems. Okay, this is what's happening, y'all. Okay, they're getting rid of the local farmer people, the mom and poppers who they do big chicken farms, these mom and poppers. And now they're going into their places and they're saying your birds have the flu, and they're burning all their birds and killing them on the spot, right? This is what's going on. So this is why we have to stay vigilant right now, because behind the scenes, what they're doing is they're centralizing our food systems. So one company is going to provide all the chickens and all the eggs. One company is going to provide all of the pigs. One company is going to provide all of the beef. And then another company is going to provide all your crickets and bugs and all the stuff you have to eat, because now there won't be enough food to feed the population because of the centralizing of the food. I mean, this is a process, y'all. We're in this process. Okay, so we've been talking about the chickens, and they're not laying the eggs, and we're starting to connect all these dots, right? The fires, the food shortages, the supply chain issues that are faked just so they can get into your head that there's supply chain issues. And so all this stuff is going on. And now, you know, because we're bringing up this story, a lot of people are talking about how their chickens stopped laying eggs in September last year and like in the summer last year, and no one can figure it out, and we're all trying to figure it out, and we've kind of boiled it down to the feed, right? And now we have these stay-at-home moms. I don't know if she's a stay-at-home mom, but this is probably what's going to save us, because the dads are supposed to be at work, and so the stay-at-home moms are getting on it, and a lot of you citizen journalists are getting on it. And let's just connect some dots in this rabbit hole on how you guys aren't going to believe it. But here, I'm going to give you some clips. You guys listen real close.
One, I ended with talking about how Cal-Maine Foods and Moark LLC might be connected. Well, here's how they're connected. In 2014, Moark LLC, which you'll remember is a subsidiary of Land O'Lakes, purchased Delta Egg Farm from Moark LLC, the largest producer of fresh eggs in the United States. Cal-Maine, largest producer of fresh eggs in the United States. It's everywhere. Anywhere you go look, you'll find that out. Since they bought out Delta Egg Farm in 2014 from Moark LLC, Cal-Maine has distributed more than 1 billion dozen eggs a year. So now that we've established that Cal-Maine is the largest producer of eggs, and they bought Delta Egg Farm from Moark LLC, how does that have anything to do with the feed? Well, I'll tell you. Well, in 2012, Cal-Maine Foods Incorporated went into a new joint venture with Eggland's Best Incorporated, and who else? Oh yeah, Land O'Lakes. So the producer of Purina Foods, Land O'Lakes, the feed that most of us are feeding our chickens, is now in a joint venture with the largest egg producer in the United States. And you might be telling yourself, well, Keely, that doesn't have anything to do with me because I feed my chickens Producer's Pride from Tractor Supply. Yeah, well, I got into that too. I had just thrown a bag of Producer's Pride Scratch in the dumpster. So I went outside, thought maybe I'd see who's producing that. Well, on the back of it, the only information it gives is Tractor Supply with a phone number. So I called that phone number and I asked, you know, who is the manufacturer or the vendor for Producer's Pride? And the lady on the phone, she said, well, we do warranty stuff here. I'd have to give you the phone number for and if you want any information on that feed, you're going to have to call the vendor. And I was like, well, I'm asking who's the vendor. And she says, oh, the vendor is Purina. So I called Purina. I called Purina customer service 4 times. Got put on hold, and the phone would disconnect when I'd ask the question. I finally called and got on hold for so long that they asked me to leave a message and someone would call me back. So I did. I left a message and someone did call me back. Producer's Pride and Do More Feed from Tractor Supply are both manufactured by Purina, which is owned by Lands of Lakes, which is in a joint venture with the largest egg producer in the United States, Cal-Maine Foods Incorporated. And it's damn near impossible. You can't do just a simple Google search and find out what all feeds Purina produces. So I decided to call customer service. And I'll show you guys the call now.
Usually feed my chickens Do More feed. And I was just wondering which other brands of chicken feeds that you guys manufacture.
We manufacture the Purina line, the Purina poultry line we do. So for laying hens, it will be the Purina layina, or we have a Purina high protein layina, that kind of stuff.
Okay, and then you guys also manufacture Producer's Pride, right?
Yes, and we have not found any issues with it yet.
And I just want to stop it right there for a moment because I never asked about an issue with the feeds. I never asked. She volunteered that information.
Okay, I was just wondering, is there any other brands that you guys produce?
Why wouldn't you know
Pretty
that?
much that's it. The Purina brand is one, and Do More and the Producer's Pride. And we picked those two according to Tractor Supply formulations. We don't use our formula in our feeds.
Okay, perfect. Thank you so much.
Sure. Can I get your name?
Now, I called Purina 3 other times this morning trying to get a hold of somebody, and when I would ask the question, the call would get disconnected. And then I called back, and I ended up having to leave a voicemail, and that's the lady that called me back. In case it's not just staring you straight in the face, the largest producer of eggs in the United States is in a joint venture with Purina, essentially. The feed we're all feeding our chickens. Let's go to another part, because I have more. Cal-Maine's website, and I looked for their financial records. 2022 financial report on Form 10K. Now, before we go into that report, I want you guys to ask yourselves, when did your chickens stop laying? You know, for me, it was around September. They started diminishing in their egg production. And then by November, I wasn't getting anything at all. So let's just see how, what does that have to do with anything, Keely? Well, on page 4 of their financial report, it reads, in fiscal year 2021, we announced that our board of directors approved several new capital projects with an estimated cost of $105 million to further expand the company's cage-free production capabilities. These projects include expanding our cage-free egg production at our Okeechobee, Florida production facility. The project is designed to include the construction of 2 cage-free layer houses and 1 cage-free pellet house, with capacity of approximately 400,000 cage-free hens and 210,000 pullets, respectively. Construction is well underway, with the first pullets placed in mid-May 2022. The first layer house to be finished by when? Oh, September 2022, when all of our chickens stopped laying.
So you got to be a rocket scientist to follow the conspiracy theories these days, right? I mean, there you have it. Purina supplies the food. Purina's in on the globalist takeover of the world because